Donald Trump may have won the Republican nomination by a wide margin, but the former president still faces some serious opposition from within his own Republican Party. Last night, a group called Republicans for Harris held a call to mobilize disaffected GOP voters. Thousands of lifelong Republicans and former lawmakers shared their stories and made their case for putting country ahead of party. Listen.
As a firsthand witness to the chaos of the Trump presidency behind closed doors, I can say this: we cannot go back.
This is no longer the party of principles, and it shows.
If we can defeat Donald Trump, then we can go back to the luxury of arguing about policy.
So if your neighbor, a Republican, doesn't want it to be Trump's party, Trump's got to lose, and he's got to lose by a lot, and that means we Republicans have to vote for the only person who can beat him.
All right, let's discuss with former RNC Communication Director Doug Heye and Democratic strategist Laura Fink. Doug, should the Trump campaign right now be concerned about these voices, disaffected Republicans in your Republican Party?
They should, and I'll tell you specifically why, Wolf. It's not because of anything that we necessarily just heard. It's what I saw in Raleigh, North Carolina earlier this year at a Nikki Haley rally, one of the last ones she had before pulling out of the race. The atmosphere in that room was very real. And those voters who were there, they were very real. The ones who were wearing the T-shirts that said permanently banned suggest that they're less likely to go to Donald Trump in a swing state. But yes, one of the things that you do in campaigns is you bracket, you pull out surrogates. That's what the Harris campaign is doing here. This is maybe marginally effective, but in so many states where things are going to be marginally close, changing turnout models by 1% in this demographic or that demographic definitely matter.
Every vote counts, as they say. Laura, Trump is getting some serious backlash over his comments about workers on strike earlier in the week. I want you and our viewers to listen to what he actually said and how Tim Walz is responding.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone.
Vice President Harris and I have both had the privilege of joining workers on the picket line. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they see the world very differently than we do. They've waged war on workers, and their ability to collectively bargain to take that away from them. All we're asking for is better wages, better benefits, better lives, and dignity in the work that we do.
Laura, as you know, Trump is trying to win over union workers around the country, but isn't it hard to imagine that they'd actually buy this anti-union position he's advocating?
Well, I think he's targeting a very small sliver of union workers with his rhetoric, and he thinks that he can win them over by insulting the rights that they fight for every single day. This is not uncommon. The fact of the matter is that he has always sort of pretended to be about the working class, but then given big tax cuts to the wealthy, and really given big corporations the upper hand when it came to those very fights that are happening at the bargaining table and on the shop floor. So I just think it's going to fall largely on deaf ears, and this is more of a media conversation than something that's happening. And sure, there are conservative union members that will vote for Trump. But the question is he reaching the undecideds? And that's the type of thing that tells me absolutely not.
Yeah. Doug, today Trump is campaigning, as you know, in North Carolina. So what does that say about spending time there? How is your party performing at this critical moment in the race if Trump has to go spend some critically important time in a state like North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina is my home state. I've worked there a whole lot, Wolf. And it's a state that's been a perennial battleground now since 2008, when the Obama campaign did an amazing job of not just organizing, but really catching a North Carolina Republican state party asleep. It's been close ever since. And what we've seen is time has been invested by Donald Trump and certainly by Joe Biden as president, Kamala Harris as vice president, spending a lot of time in the state. And I know Harris is going to go back as well. It's a critical battleground. I'd say two segments of voters are really important here. One, Hispanic voters. It's a very big growing part of the state. Republicans and Democrats, for that matter, would be very smart in investing more resources in Hispanic media. Two, African American voters. That makes a lot of sense. It's a high population. of the state, but specifically young African American voters. What Barack Obama was able to do in 2008 was he was able to turn the 11 HBCUs in North Carolina into absolute turnout machines. And that's something that is hard to replicate. But if Harris has this real enthusiasm and can match it with the organization, that can make a difference in the state that was the closest one that Joe Biden lost just 4 years ago.
The HBCU, the historically black colleges and universities in North Carolina, and as you correctly point out, there are several very, very important. Laura, Trump's allies are begging him to stay on message and refrain from personal attacks, but we haven't seen that from him in recent days. What do you expect to hear?
Listen, well, I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time because fundamentally Republicans and Trump have made a mistake when it comes to Kamala Harris. And that's they just believe that she's not worthy of being on the stage. And when you believe someone's not worthy, you make errors in judgment. By underestimating her, they expected that the attacks that she was not qualified, that she was not presidential, not capable, were going to land. But at the same time they were throwing those punches, she was ascendant. She was filling stadiums with crowds who were enthusiastic. And what they saw before their eyes was someone who had gravitas, someone who was charismatic, and someone who had the full weight of her years of public service behind them. Now, right now, we see just the latest snaps with Donald Trump trying to come up with a nickname, trying to come up with an attack. But the reality is that there's no context in which that's believable for swing voters. So by underestimating her, and I'll let viewers decide why they may have done that they are not able to land that punch. And with just 90 days out, they don't have the traditional weapons that they usually employ of right-wing media to try to calcify and define her. She has defied them. And that is what has enabled her to pull ahead in swing states from North Carolina, or not ahead in North Carolina, but even to make North Carolina competitive. She's brought those voters you're talking about, Wolf, back to the Democratic tent with enthusiasm, and she's got Republicans running scared. All the while, she's competing like she continues to be the underdog because she knows the race is going to be close. But if Donald Trump doesn't retool, and there's some question as to whether he can, he will just continue to unravel and become unhinged, which I think is the source of his problems day to day that we're seeing right now.
Wolf, if I could say quickly,
Actually, certainly,
Kamala Harris
yes,
has been
certainly,
very effective on the stump.
Go ahead.
Kamala Harris has been very effective on the stump. She's done very well. What she hasn't done and what she needs to do to be a good candidate and show that she really is strong is sit down with you or sit down with Dana Bash and take real questions. We haven't gotten any questions yet or have her ask questions yet to determine how she's going to react to those. Voters need to see that before they make those decisions.
She has certainly energized that Democratic base so far. Laura, very quickly.
Oh, I was just going to say that she's taking questions like before every plane ride, and she'll get to that interview that I know my colleague's looking forward to. So am I.
We're looking forward to a full-scale interview with a serious journalist, to be sure. All right, Laura Fink, thank you. Doug Heye, thanks to you as well. And we'll be right back.